From the Studio 13 Studios in Splendora, Texas, Hank's Think Tank is brought to you by Buster Brown Propane.
Quiet on set. Picture is up. All right, roll sound.
Rolling.
Roll cameras.
Cams rolling.
And 3, 2.
Hey everybody, what's going on? And welcome to Hank's Think Tank. Today's going to be a good day. It's been a long one coming, but I'm looking forward to having this conversation. Mark Hoken couldn't make it here today, but I wanted to mention a little bit of something about him. You know, he works hard here at Studio 13, and I just want to let him know that we appreciate everything he does for the channel and everything he does for the studio. So Mark, even though you couldn't make it, we're thinking about you, bro, and see you this weekend. All right, guys, today we have our commissioner for Precinct.4, Montgomery County, Texas, Matt Gray in. And this is basically just to do an update. It's not a campaign thing or anything like that. We're going to talk about drainage. We're going to talk about road construction. We're going to talk about mosquitoes that we haven't had and a bunch of other stuff. Welcome aboard, Matt. How's it going?
It's going great, Hank. Thanks for having me.
Fantastic. Yeah, it's been a little while coming, and I know you've been busy. You're probably the hardest working commissioner this county's ever had. At least that's the word around the campfire. So what you got?
I'm flattered to hear that. And
Yeah.
hoping to set the bar so high that, you know, if it's not me or someone else comes in, that's the expectation for filling that seat. So
Yeah, well, I think you're there. So there's a lot going on.
I appreciate
So
that.
I know that you've made a lot of progress in a short amount of time. I mean, it's only been how long now? You haven't been in a year yet.
Sworn in January. We're late August, so
Yeah. 8.5 months in, something
we're
like
getting
that?
there. Yeah,
Man, and you've done that much in 8 months.
it's been a busy 8 months.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yes, sir.
So now I've noticed, just to start out with, we don't have any mosquitoes. How did you accomplish that?
Man, we put our heads together, and we were really able to knock them out this year, Hank.
It must have used something, some kind of nuclear weapon or something.
Yeah,
Whatever it was, it worked.
yeah. Well, we do have a mosquito program. We spray at night, you
Okay.
know, to try to be mindful. A lot of folks ask, well, are you spraying our area? They don't see the trucks. We don't spray during the day. There's the fauna and the flora, you know, bees and things like that.
Right.
There's supposed to be in their hives during the nighttime, so that's when we spray. And obviously the drought and the dry weather's, you know, played into that quite a bit. We also recently were partnering up with Precinct.4, and we'll be running mosquito traps and checking for any West Nile or any kind of mosquito or mosquito-borne illnesses or anything like that, to even monitor it even more close going forward in the future. So
Okay.
it's a big deal, especially in this part of the world where we hold a lot of water
Yeah,
most
for
of
sure.
the time, right?
Right, but we'll be coming out of mosquito season pretty soon, I would think. Next month or so.
I hope so. I hope you're right.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll get some rain, though. I'd like to see the return of at least a couple of mosquitoes.
Yeah, I would take that trade off, some mosquitoes for some rain right
Yeah,
now.
that's for sure. All right, so let's move a little bit forward. So when you took office, I know you walked into a situation that was kind of unusual for you, and there was a lot going on at that time. Drainage hadn't really been looked at all that well in the past. So what kind of moves did you need to make just to get things straightened out and get to the point to where you could actually concentrate and work on stuff?
Yeah. So coming into it, I mean, that's a big question. So there's a way things operate, and there's a way things I think they should operate from, you know, the careers I've had and the work that I've done.
Mm-hmm.
So as fast as the county and the precinct and the area as a whole has been growing,
Crazy.
you know, that was a lot of the driver for why I ran. So I'll give a nod to the previous commissioners and, you know, the work that they put in at drainage. I've taken a different approach,
Mm-hmm.
and so far so good. And I think it's been a great thing for the area, with more great things to come. So some of the things that we've done, to answer your question more specifically, before I even swore in January, I had gone and got approved an FMA grant through Commissioner's Court
Mm-hmm.
to get a drainage study funded. And When I got in, I hired the company that I wanted to use for that study, and I got those guys to identify shovel-ready jobs around the precinct, and we're working on that. And they identified them, that's complete, and we're attacking those with our great alls and equipment that we have. And we took that information, we built it into project management and scheduling software. So we're systematically working through the precinct right now. If we get hung up in an area and we're working on it and we've got to peel a great all or a couple crews off to go deal with an emergency situation or a work order that has to be addressed, then we do that. But we stay on target and we've got a plan and we're working the plan. And to me, that's successful project management. That's how we get ahead on drainage and get ahead in the precinct.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
So 2.0 to that, the FMA grant I mentioned. So I hadn't got the money yet. So we funded with tax dollars that first study. And the second part, which should be coming down hopefully in the next few weeks, will be the 2.0 to that. That'll be the somewhere in the $700,000 to $900,000 range, where we'll pay to get the engineering for the bigger problems and bigger drainage issues that we've got in the precinct.
Okay. So would that be like dethatching and stuff like that, or what would that come down to? Do you know?
Yeah, well, it just depends on what areas we're studying. They've identified a lot of the big problem areas, and one of the other grants we applied for were through the GLO that I'm hoping hits very soon. I got my fingers crossed for the good news on the award. It's a very, very large sum of money. And with that, we would go through and be de-snagging and cleaning out and cutting down a gradient. Peach Creek, Caney Creek, White Oak Creek, and the East Fork of the San Jacinto River. So that would cover that up. And I wasn't avoiding your question. I was working back around to it. So that FMA would tackle it, wouldn't tackle the de-snagging or any of that. So that would be for that. This will be for any of the more challenging drainage issues that probably partnering with trouble areas that the school districts maybe deal with or mud areas may deal with. We've got these diversion ditches and channels, and that's probably where the engineering will be applied to, draining some of these areas where the water just flows backwards and it doesn't make any sense. Where we're within a 1 mile radius of a body of water or a moving water, that is. So anywho. Yeah.
And I would think that drainage is going to be really hard anyway, because if you're just concentrating on Precinct 4 and you've got all this other land around you, you've got everything coming from north and coming down, I mean, it's almost like, how are you going to manage that? Because you've got a tremendous amount of water moving in from outside of Precinct 4.
Yes.
If it's a storm type thing.
Precinct 4 is, I call it the drainage basin of Montgomery County. Precinct 1, 2, and 3 drain into it.
Wow.
And then it goes south down to Lake Houston and on from there. So I've been reaching across county lines. One of our very good conservative neighbor, Commissioner Tom Ramsey, and Harris County Flood Control. That's our adjacent precinct, which is Precinct 3, Harris County, working with those guys and other entities over there to plan and talk and discuss how we'll manage this and what needs to be done, and if we had to partner up in an emergency situation or a large rain event.
Right.
But one of the exciting things is, it doesn't really fall under that commissioner, but under the city of Houston, is they're looking at, I'm hearing good news on the floodgates for Lake Houston. So not to get into all that and the San Jacinto River Authority and the lakes and whatnot, but it is good news for all that water that comes through here, like you said, and goes out. Okay. So another cool thing, you got me talking about drainage now.
I love drainage.
It's hard to turn it off when I get going.
It really is, yeah.
We've got so much growth in the area, we'll always circle back to that. And what happens with all the deforestation, all the lot clearing, all the subdivisions that come in, we're really working with and trying to help manage the relationships and manage the process with the engineers and the developers and steer and manage the growth. You heard me say I wanted to steer the growth
Somebody has to.
A lot coming into
Yeah,
this.
it can't just happen on its own. It'll be a disaster. Yeah.
And we're working with these folks, and we're setting the expectation up front. We spend a lot of time working with the engineers and the permitting office and trying to clean up some of our processes and how we process that, how they process it, how we get it, and all the communication. It all comes back to communication. And anyway, we're looking at, and I'm working with the county on trying to revise and get the development plans and subdivision plans revamped, looking at that and how we handle some of the water issues and stormwater. It's a lot of surface area with all the new buildings coming off, and that water, and that water goes somewhere, right? Most of it runs off into an open ditch somewhere and then goes to a TxDOT facility and down to one of these gullies or Peach Creek or Caney Creek or the river, and that's the path out. So just trying to manage that and making sure we're all being responsible and good neighbors when we're coming in and taking care of each other.
Yeah, that's important.
Taking care of each other by not putting water on each other.
Yeah, that's important. So do you have any kind of software that actually would make predictions? Like, let's say in the present state of where we are, if we got 8, 10, 12 inches of rain, where might those areas that hadn't flooded before, would they flood? Or, you know what I'm saying? Just due to all the, deforestation and the concrete that's been poured and everything else. I know that every time you make those changes, it changes the way that the water drains out of here. I mean, is there any way to predict that? Is there any kind of software or data that you've been able to input that will maybe give us that someday?
So a lot of the guys, a lot of the engineers that are working on and preparing a piece of property or preparing an area, they have contour maps and they have modeling and rain models that they do and run to get it approved and to see how it'll affect the area. Do I have any, or does the county own any in my office? No.
But it's required up front before they get permits.
It's required up front.
Well, that's cool. Yeah, that makes me feel better.
It's cool, and it's good. I trust it more, going over that piece of property on horseback or a four-wheeler or walking it and actually putting eyes on it. But, the software and the modeling's cool. It's
and from what I've seen, we've really gotten a lot more responsible with development in the area. Our developments look good.
Yep.
Even the smaller projects look good. They look professional now and are being done right. They're not just, nailed up shacks together and stuff like that. So I'm impressed with the way that East County itself and even Precinct 4 is shaping up. The place looks great.
East County is coming online. It's something you get one chance to get it right, and that's what was so exciting about running for this job. We've got one chance to get this right and steer how it's going to be and how it's going to shape up.
Yeah, you entered at a pivotal time.
Yeah, I mean there's none other like it.
Yeah.
You're either there or you're not there, and we're in between. It's coming online. Yeah. So it's fun. It's a big. There's a lot of learning curve and a lot of learnings that take place for myself and the staff and everybody, and it's fun. I'm having a blast. It's not work if you're having fun, and
yeah, for sure.
It's hard to turn it off a lot of days.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about your staff a little bit. I mean, I've dealt with a lot of those individuals there. To me, it's an award-winning group. I mean, really, you put together an amazing group. So how did all that come about?
It is an award-winning group, Hank, and I could have all the ambition in the world and be your top-notch commissioner or whatever, however you would describe it. But, without the people behind you, you're nothing. You're not going to get anything done if you don't have the right people in place. And it was funny enough, after I won the primary, my goal was to go through and, meet as many elected officials as I could in the surrounding areas, start building those relationships and partnerships. And one of the first offices I went by was Commissioner Jack Cagle's over in Precinct.4 of Harris County. And Commissioner Cagle and Commissioner Ramsey were the two conservative commissioners in Harris County. And Cagle was in an election year. Well, as time would have it, Commissioner Cagle did not win, but that was the first elected official I went and visited.
Mm-hmm.
And he's been a good friend and mentor to this day. But after that happened, after the general election, he called me and we had some meetings, and I was able to rehome a lot of the staff they had, and over in Precinct.4 in Harris County. And that's
so these were all educated, experienced people.
it's super important to note that, because we got close to close to 70, 80 years, combined county experience when we hit the ground running. So if we ever had a discussion, I'm talking to TV land out there. If we ever had a discussion, I know you and I had this discussion. I said my goal is to day one when I hit office is to trend upwards. I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk about a 3-month lull where I'm getting comfortable and getting broke in, and we hit the ground running on day one and week one. So we trended upwards all right. But it's because I like what I'm doing. I'm ambitious about it. That's one part of it. But the other part was getting that great staff on. And it wasn't just the Kegel people. There's a lot of great people in Montgomery County. We've got a great staff, all the supervisors. We kept all the supervisors on that worked for the county.
Mm-hmm.
The parks group, the fleet maintenance group, drainage, the road maintenance, and we've done a little bit of a culture shakeup. I'm real big on communication and meeting and discussing, lessons learned.
But all that builds morale. That's what happens there.
Yes.
When you get a group of individuals that truly communicate, whether it's negative or positive, doesn't matter. It's that communication is a key. That starts to build morale.
Absolutely.
And then things don't get swept under the rug, and and all that starts to build. Once you get some negative, internal stuff that starts to build, it's never good. So as long as you're having meetings and discussing, and it's a good thing.
Yeah, you want to have a relief valve on those things. If it is
absolutely.
negative, you don't want to let it build. And
especially in a high stress job, I would think everybody there's under a lot of stress most of the time.
Well, we try to make it where it's not. It was very important to me to have the staff and supervisors close. So we moved them back into the main building, so we're all accessible. I'm accessible. Mm-hmm. They've got a strong support staff and maintenance staff for the maintenance work order system and management system. The gals who operate that, offer those guys all kinds of cover, as I try to. We do weekly meetings on projects, what's planned, what's been going on, what's upcoming, lessons learned, after action reviews, what went well, what didn't. If it didn't go well, what did we learn? How are we going to improve that? And we take safety very serious. We do weekly safety meetings, and tell those guys every week, my goal for you is for you to leave at the end of the day how you got here this morning. So
there you go.
We do pre-job safety meetings before we start any of the maintenance or we're climbing on anything. Some of the stuff that requires us to climb around, we now sign JSAs, which is part of the DuPont safety system. Mm-hmm. We're not a chemical, we're not an industrial chemical factory, so it's not full blown with stop cards and things like that. But we are moving in that direction. Safety is obviously very important.
Yeah, I like that.
Yes, sir.
Great idea. All right, I want to shift gears a little bit.
Sure.
I'm a community guy. I talk about it a lot on this channel. And, I know you've done a lot to make things look better here in East County, and I want to talk specifically about bandit signs. So how did you get your program started, or I guess your war on bandit signs? How did that go down?
Well,
you were just driving to work one day, and you were like, damn, this looks bad. I got to do something.
We'd see the litter here in East County. Everybody'd see it.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a lot of pride in East County. I've got a lot of pride in Montgomery County. I've got a lot of pride in my home.
Sure.
And I didn't like seeing those things. And when I got here, there was a litter crew. And everything we do, we go in and study, and we try to create a more efficient process. And we had a couple guys that would go get it or go pick up litter. There were two guys with a foreman who would drive them around. It wasn't efficient for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been building and working on a relationship with the sheriff, and he and I have been able to establish a good rapport, and we've worked together very well. And we partnered up and put the inmate program back in place over here.
Okay.
So we're able to streamline taxpayer dollars, pull those guys off and repurpose them. And the foreman that we had, we assigned him to the bandit signs, and he's averaging probably 150 to 250 bandit signs a day that are just littering corners. They get left there.
Oh, this is a daily deal then.
Oh yeah, this
Wow.
it once a month.
I thought it was maybe if you see one, yank it. Yeah.
No, well, he's full
Awesome.
time on bandit signs, and
Yeah.
it's not to pick or do anything. We're trying to clean up.
I got you.
And,
Yeah, I'm with you.
On state facilities, 494, 59, 105. If there's stuff, we stop and get it. We don't stop because it's a state road,
Mm-hmm.
and if that's
Do you need a permit to plant a bandit sign here in Montgomery County, or is it something people just do?
So far, it's something people just do. You're not supposed to put bandit signs in county right away.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So the ones
That's where they end up.
The ones
yeah.
we get, we're pulling them out of county right away. It becomes a nuisance, and it's just not very appealing. And that's not the message we want to send. We're trying to get the community buy-in and get everybody wanting to help pick this place up,
Right.
not bring it down.
Yeah. And when you talk about community buy-in, I just wanted to mention that, this isn't only the job of our commissioners and the job of our elected officials to clean this place up. It's ours too. As citizens, we need to be good stewards to our own community and make sure we don't A, litter, and B, if you see something, snatch it, throw it away. It's not that big of a deal. It makes a big difference at the end of the day. If we got everybody to do a little something, East County would be awesome.
Yeah, I'm going to correct you there, Hank. East County is awesome, but
yeah, you got me there.
It would definitely help if everyone pitched in and did that. And I don't want to sound too threatening here, but don't get caught dumping tires. Don't get caught dumping motor oil or dumping your trash, because I'm going to work with our constable, Rowdy Hayden.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever agency we have to make sure that you get fined or punished to the full extent of the law if we catch you doing something like that.
And should. Yeah.
Yep.
I completely agree with that, because there's enough facilities around to take those things too, to get rid of those items the right way.
Absolutely.
And you don't want to contaminate the land out here.
Don't trash Texas.
Yeah.
Don't trash Montgomery County, and don't trash East County.
There you go.
Don't do it.
All right. So let's swing around now. We've kind of covered drainage a little bit. What about infrastructure? What about our roads? And now, if I were you, I know I'd wake up in the middle of the night concerned about roads, because there's so many people moving in, congestion's getting bad. How do you solve that problem? Especially because I know you've got a bird's eye view. You're able to look down on it and say, okay, this is the flow of traffic in and out of here. How do we answer this? And where in the hell does that much money come from? It's expensive to build roads. Really, really expensive.
Very expensive. Well, first of all, Hank, you'd have to sleep to wake up in a panic. So just stay in a perpetual panic.
There you go.
No, just kidding. I get some sleep. It's a lot, and one of the great things about Montgomery County, and one of the reasons so many people are moving here, we'll go back to the growth, we keep circling back to it, is the low taxes. We have a very low county tax rate here.
Right.
So if you study your tax bill and see what it is, the county tax ain't the problem. You get a lot of amenities for what you pay on a county tax. And with that, I get out of the major, say, entities or districts, or however you want to group it up, I manage and take care of Precinct.4, which is from Kingwood to Cleveland, up to Conroe, back down to the Woodlands, and then back over to Kingwood, and everything in between.
Yeah, that's huge.
That's what we're covering, and I've got the smallest budget out of, you look at the
Wow.
other districts and entities that take up a small footprint of this.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a big ask, everybody wants a new road, rightfully so. Who doesn't?
Mm-hmm.
And it's something we're looking at. We don't have a laydown machine. We try to repair the roads as best we can. We get the hot mix, cold patch, and that's not always the answer. And when we have the money, we'll sub it out. It's actually cheaper to sub the road out, because what I can get a ton of material for, I think $100. Is it $100 a ton? Anyway, it's about $5 extra per ton to go ahead and have them do the work, or have a subcontractor, and that's what we're doing. I was elected to be a good steward of tax dollars and stretch the dollars, and that's what we're doing. And but back to the question, is there a lot of money to redo all the roads? No, there's not. So we're trying to kind of work through it. We've got a plan, and we've identified what roads need it. It is a big ask. It would take a road bond and a responsible manager of a road bond to get done what really needs to get done.
Yeah.
We've got the state roads in Precinct 4 that all run east and west. My focus, if we were to get money to repair the bigger arteries in the precinct, would be to work on the north and south roads, your Willis-Waukegans, your Crockett-Martins, Old Houston.
Okay.
The roads like that. It'd be nice to partner with the school districts and try to alleviate some of the traffic and some of those tighter areas that are on a county road or maybe not on a state facility.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of old neighborhood roads that haven't had any attention in a while, and I would like to, allocate some of that money, depending on if we got a bond or got some kind of money, move it towards doing work in those subdivisions as well. And,
right.
Just smoothing it out.
Yeah.
It's a big, that's one of the big challenges, the roads, but it costs a lot of money, and, if the money's not there, you can't do it.
I got you. But you do have some road projects that are going on now, right?
We do. So I'm glad you asked, and I'm happy to touch on those. Two of the big bond projects, speaking of bonds, that had been hanging out for a long time before even taking office. I think the bond was passed in 2015, 16, maybe 16. And Sorters Road and Ford Road. So I have worked, my staff has worked day and night on getting Sorters Road started. We had a September 5th start date.
Okay.
And we were able to start a little early. So
cool.
Sorters Road segment 1 from 1314 is underway now.
Okay.
They're putting the underground construction in, or the underground drainage, widening out. That'll help the drainage and some of the water, hopefully off Canterbury and some of those areas that flows to that road and then goes up to the gullies. And that's really exciting. And folks are kind of wondering, what took so long and why has this just been hanging out there? It's a challenge to get these projects moving.
I'll bet, because you have so many other entities you have to work with.
Utility easements, dealing with those providers, utility providers, and the good news is we spent a lot of time talking about lessons learned and after actions. We're studying and we're taking note on how to get ahead of this process. We've got timelines broke out for how long a big project like this should take, and hoping we can head it off and shave 12 to 18 months off in the future off these types of jobs.
Okay.
Back to the meat there. Sorters Road's getting started. Ford Road. We reached out to Congressman Dan Crenshaw, and he and his staff have been very generous to Precinct 4. We were awarded $10 million, and of which $7 million is allotted for Ford Road, which will help us get the construction rolling on that. We've been negotiating and working with Union Pacific. That's who owns the railroad tracks along 494 on that stretch, and to get that crossing and get the construction. I don't have a date that I can share right now, But if you've been down Ford Road, you can see that they've been clearing and grubbing. Porter
Lots
sod,
been
porter
going
mud.
on.
They've
Yeah.
been moving the utilities. So we're in pretty good shape. I'm excited. I can't brag. You brought up the staff. I can't brag on the staff and everybody enough for the progress we've been making. Recently, on a bigger scale project, some of the money I found some dollars that were allotted years ago for 242. So I've been working with TxDOT to get those allocated. There's one of the problems with having money and then having projects hanging out there is construction cost escalation.
Absolutely,
and that's what we're dealing with is these price escalations. Working and negotiating with TxDOT to help us afford some of this escalation that's happened. And
so what's the 242 project?
I'm sorry, it's the flyover if you're northbound East Connector.
Okay.
So if you're ever in the Woodlands,
so from 45,
that feeder backs all the way up, and that's probably the worst choke point. And
it's actually a good choke point though, because we always pull into that. What is it? The Robin.
Oh yeah, Red Robin.
Yeah, Red Robin. We just eat.
There.
Just take time to eat. So that's the way to go.
So it'll help those folks in that corner of the precinct.
It doesn't matter what time of day it is either. That's a choke point for sure.
And it has been for years, but we get that flyover in. We're looking good on engineering, getting good feedback, and maybe
I would think that'd be a TxDOT deal that they would fund that. You know?
Yeah.
It seems like it would be.
I could eat up all the time we've got on this show explaining the history and how that got, and it ultimately was, and it ties back into some of the pass-through funds, which was I guess would be part of that conversation. But we've got money that was separated out and allocated for that's been sitting there, and we're just kicking that old horse and breathing some life back into it to get it done.
Yeah, I'm sure it can get complicated.
Yeah, it's as complicated as you make it. So we're shoving on it, and we're going to get it done. So that's the attitude, and that's what's going to happen. Another big one, I partnered with. Before I go there, we were digging through a lot of the funds and the bonds that had been sitting out there for a while, and we started digging around and going through the numbers and all this, all the money that we had on the books or that had been on the books, and found a bunch of interest funds.
Okay.
And so we were able to share that with the other commissioners, able to partner with the Precinct 3 commissioner, and we're moving forward on funding the engineering for, it's called a braided ramp.
Okay.
It's actually in Precinct 3, and it even affects Precinct 2.
What is a braided ramp?
Well, if you're on 45 and you're going to get on 99, you got to exit, and you got to go through the Hardy Toll Road, and it gets kind of confusing because there's a feeder, then there's the middle road, and then there's 45 if you're southbound.
Right.
And
yeah, it is weird over there.
It's very weird, and this is supposed to clean all that up. So, again, I would need a whiteboard, an engineer, and 2 hours to explain the braided ramp. But
a scientific calculator,
all that good stuff. Maybe a TI-83.
There you go.
And but it's supposed to help clear that up. So and speaking of, 99 is a cool thing. We use it quite a bit, and I'm sure a lot of people in the precinct and the county do. So like I said, it'll benefit three of the 4 precincts. It'll really clean up that area and that intersection. So I'm excited about that.
Okay, fantastic.
Yep.
And I know you've got a fundraiser coming up, huh?
Yep, we're going to do our first big community fundraiser. It's more of a deal just to get the community involved and get everybody out and, try to meet as many people as we can if we hadn't met you, and bring the kids out. It's family friendly.
Okay. When is it?
It's October 12th.
Okay.
And it's $10 a head to come in, and we tried to lower the cost and make it as affordable as possible.
That's great. Yeah.
Hey, that's a pretty cheap night eating out.
That's it.
So, eat as much as you want for $10. Come out,
Okay.
bring the family, hang out. We've got the local legend Sundance Head will be providing the entertainment.
Awesome.
It is awesome. So,
Yeah, that's great.
He's a really cool guy. He's
Yeah.
got some great music, and
And where's it going to be?
it's the Ag Barn, the show barn.
Okay.
At Bull South Park. Yeah.
Cool.
So
Cool. Didn't you do some work to the barn?
I have done some work.
What happened over there?
Well, there's a 1.0 and 2.0 to that. When we first come on, I would say in the first 30 to 40 days, we went ahead and moved forward on putting a new roof on the rodeo arena.
Okay. Yeah, that was
And,
needed.
That was very much needed. So we're in the process of revamping that. And then in the process, we put new ACs and new air and condensers over on the show barn.
Cool.
And on this last commissioner's court we did, we've been working with IT and some of the outstanding federal funding that was out there. And we're now getting fiber internet to Bull Salas Park and Ed Reinhardt Park.
Cool.
And Ipes Park. Also Grangerland Community Center and Security Community Center.
Okay.
This is huge. It's especially big if you've been in any of these places and tried to use your phone
Right.
in the last
Yeah, that's awesome.
couple years. So we're
Not only that, but it'll be good for the events because they can stream out and things like that. So that'd be
yeah.
great.
So there's a lot of different. It's not just when we use it or fundraisers. A lot of people rent these facilities out. We've got the East Montgomery County Fair and Rodeo coming up, I believe September 8th. All these kids who've worked very hard on their animals and getting ready to show them and go to sell. You need internet when you're in there, especially when you got that many people. So it's a big deal for the community and for the public. So I'm very proud to have been part
I'm
of that.
excited about it too.
Yeah.
I'm going.
Yep. So yeah, well, better put in a plug for the fair and rodeo coming up too. So
Yeah, sounds good.
yep.
Okay. So what kind of food are we going to have at this fundraiser?
Oh man, don't nail me down on the food right now, Hank. We're kicking around a couple different options.
Okay.
We've talked about doing fajitas or maybe baked potatoes or fried fish, and it'll y'all just show up and be surprised. That's all you got to do. It'll be edible. I can promise you.
You'll have
that.
a good crowd there for several reasons. One of them being Sundance Head, the other one being you. So.
I hope so.
That's good. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So what have we got online for the future that you would consider to be the biggest project that you'll be walking into in the rest of your term? You've got 3 years left on your term, right?
Yes, sir.
So, yeah, what do you think you can get done in that 3 years that would be, let's call it the highlight of your term as commissioner?
Boy, the highlight.
Damn, that was a good question. I like
Yeah.
it.
If I were to hang that on a project, I guess I could think of some drainage projects or some road projects I would hang that on. But
You got to have a dream. I know you do.
Well, my real answer is what I define as success is the processes and how well the people are working and how good is the process working.
Mm-hmm.
How well is the equipment running? How up to speed are we on maintenance? How are we handling the fleet maintenance program?
How well oiled is that machine?
Yeah, how
I like
efficient
it.
how efficient are we?
Yeah.
How far is your tax dollar going? How much money are we saving? What are we getting done? How fast can we react? And that's what I define as success. And since I've taken office, I have worked from day one to try to define those metrics and build those KPIs into our schedules and to the departments and measure what success looks like. So before there wasn't that. I guess you could look at work orders. Work orders are never ending, and it wasn't the best performance indicator.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I define success. But one of the big projects, or some of the big projects, I would say, I'm kind of alluded to or mentioned the one where the grant would come through and we'd do the de-snagging for all the creeks and the river. I think
that'd be huge.
I think that's going to have a huge impact if we get awarded that. And I'm trying not to get too excited and hang up on it, but I'm getting some great news or getting some good feedback on it. That would be a very big one. The 242, that's not a 6-month project. That's something that's been hanging out there for a long time. I'm excited about that. We've got the pass-through funds that we recently, like I said, breathed some life back into that as well. Be funding on and off ramps the closer into the Valley Ranch area.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see that. There's just so many. But if I received the funding and was able to get the north-south roads, those big roads, and clean up a bunch of the traffic, I think that would be a huge success if I could do that in a decent amount of time. It's hard to quantify the drainage.
Mm-hmm.
I can't control the storm event or control the weather.
Right.
But if we've got it flowing around here, and if the same problems aren't a problem anymore, I think I'm doing my job.
Yeah. So are you a little concerned that we're going to get all this rain at once? I mean, I'm starting to think that way. I think we're 47 days. It did rain yesterday, so I don't know if that actually broke it or not because it wasn't much rain. But before then, we're 46 days straight without rain. And I just would hate to think of us getting it all at once.
Yeah.
That would just suck.
It would. Well, first of all, I'm jealous because you got rain at your house and I didn't get it at mine. So I live in the dust
Not
bowl
much.
over there.
It was enough. Yeah.
I don't spend a lot of time worrying about things I can't control, Hank.
Yeah, there you go.
What I do is I prepare for it. We've got a process we're working through systematically on drainage, and we're preparing the best that we can to respond to it. I spend a lot of time reviewing policy and making sure we've got procedures in our office to respond to an extreme weather event, or if something happened.
Mm-hmm.
We've had extreme events, 2 since I've been in office, one in Precinct.1 and then one in Precinct.3.
Mm-hmm.
We were first responders there with our equipment and our manpower and stayed there and helped them as long as they needed it. And so I have no doubt that those other commissioners and those other precincts would be over here helping Precinct.4 if we had an extreme event to respond to it. And
that's the cool thing about Montgomery County.
Yep.
Just people work together.
They're not doing that in other counties the way we do.
Not like we do it.
This is a special place. It's very unique, and I'm very proud of the work we're doing collectively and working with those guys. We don't always agree on everything, but we agree on a lot of things, and we're able to work together and get a lot of stuff accomplished. But,
there you go.
Yeah, it's good. So,
okay.
I think I answered that for the most part. We're preparing to deal with something if it were to arise. But like I said, I spend a lot of time preparing. I try to not spend a lot of time worrying.
It's the way to go.
So
yeah.
And those guys, they're ready to get the job done. They work hard. The guys who work up at the county, we've put some other policies in place. There used to be rain days. Now, if you've got a parks department, we're not taking off. We're loading up in the truck and making sure vests are on, and we've got rakes and shovels in the back of the truck, and we're going and clearing debris and clearing out culverts and making sure water's draining, and riding around and surveying the areas.
Okay.
So. And that goes back. I could spin this off into a million different things, but that goes back to the fleet maintenance. We're trying to make sure the equipment's in tip-top shape. I get really excited talking about the equipment and fleet maintenance and stretching.
Well, that's
the
important,
dollars.
though. Did we have a pretty good fleet maintenance program when you came in?
Well, it's growing. I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about how it was, but where we're getting to now.
Yeah.
And
okay.
there was a lot of room to improve and a lot of room to grow on, and we're getting there. We've got a great team. It's been so hot, every time you look at your phone or
God, it's been murder. Yeah.
or something, it's 107 degrees. I recently implemented an extreme heat maintenance program. So our office is open 5 days a week. In the past, the commissioner's office was open 4 days a week. So of those 4, we have 4 grade all crews. So we bring a crew in each afternoon to get them out of the heat of the day around 1 p.m.
Okay.
And we put them in a shaded area. And those guys spend that time. We purchased a bunch of high temp grease.
Mm-hmm.
We go through and we do a full maintenance inspection. We grease the entire piece of equipment. We're going through and checking for, a flimsy or weak filling hydraulic hoses, anything bubbled,
Mm-hmm.
checking connections, and we've already identified some potential failure points
Oh, I bet.
that would have cost a failure in the field, which would have taken, could have took it out of service a few days, waiting on lead times for parts if we didn't have it, and we're identifying that up front.
Smart. Yeah, I would think stuff like that would go way up in this heat.
Yeah, and since
Yeah.
we've been doing that, we've seen a reduction in failures and equipment breakdowns, and it takes some time, but we're pushing through and trying to do that on, from all the tractors, all the equipment, all the mowers, down to, the trucks that the supervisors or the guys drive, trying to update fleet and reduce.
That's really a good
breakdowns.
program. It really is, because I'd rather see that thing out of service for a couple of hours being maintained,
Yeah.
than a couple of days being repaired.
Yeah,
Yes, that's just smart business.
yeah, if we're maintaining it and maintenance it and greasing these booms, and it's easy to sit back and say, well, they should be doing that anyway. Well, yeah, they should, but now we're making sure they do. It's supervised. There's a professional mechanic that goes through and helps it, and we're training, and then hopefully maybe it'll fan out from there, and we'll get better at doing it in the field. But right now we're doing what we have to get everything on board and get it where it needs to be.
That's cool.
It is cool, and we work very hard on efficiency. Some of the things, the other improvements we've made, I've put a lot of resources into making the shop and the yard a more comfortable place to work. I try to make it a more efficient operation. Efficient's like my favorite word when I'm talking about our tax dollars. And one of the things I did was we have the fueling station for law enforcement and all of our equipment there. We put a fuel canopy up over it to get those guys out of the weather, out of the sun, out of the rain. At least when they're fueling up, we paid and got another fuel pump over there instead of 6 dump trucks lined up for one. We put another fuel pump in to speed up those operations and get those guys moving in and out. We're looking at measuring and calculating and quantifying every move to try to make it the best streamlined operation we can offer and provide. So
Identify the problem and fix it.
it's exciting.
Yeah.
I probably enjoy it too much, but
I can tell.
that's where we're at.
Nothing wrong with that. We need a guy who enjoys it too much.
Yeah. Well,
So that's great.
you picked the right one, so
Yeah, there you go.
appreciate you.
So
East
let me
Montgomery
ask you
County.
this: average guy out there, what can the average guy out there do to help in this situation? What can the residents of Montgomery County, especially East Montgomery County and Precinct.4, do to help this process along? There's got to be something.
Yeah, there's all kinds of things, Hank. Be a good Texan, for one. Be a good citizen, which most
We
of
got a
us
lot
are.
of them out here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of Texans out here.
Yeah.
But how can the average citizen improve drainage in East Montgomery County? Great question. Let's not burn in ditches for starters.
Yeah.
Let's not burn around plastic culverts. When we see a clogged culvert or branches or limbs in the waterway, let's get them out. Don't dump your brush in a diversion ditch that runs behind your property or something like that. Just things like that. Just getting that trash out, cleaning, helping mowing if it's an elderly couple or person's ditch next to you, or maybe a vacant lot. Keeping that easement, helping keep it clean. We try to get to everything, but it's a limited resource. And it's
I don't see the problem. You've only got 900 miles of road, right?
Well, it's closer to 1,200 now.
Is it really?
That road log's getting bigger.
Yeah, I bet it is.
But the funny thing about this is, and I'm hesitant to say it, but it's how I feel because I'm a small government minded type of guy.
Okay.
Low tax is
Yeah.
if you're counting on the government to solve all your problems and fix every issue, you've got a lot bigger problems than
I agree.
ditch or
100%.
something else. So
Yeah.
if the expectation is the county going to maintain every ditch, we're trying. These guys, they work their butt off in this heat. I work my butt off trying to come up with a plan and to streamline it and to get us there. But it takes time. So if, like you said, if everybody's pitching in and doing their part or
Just a little.
maintaining their part,
Yeah.
a little bit goes a long way, especially when it comes to water flowing.
Okay.
So
Great.
I think that'd be the big one, besides what we talked about, picking up
Yeah.
litter and things like that. Support your commissioner.
That's it. Yeah. All right. Anything you want to close with?
I think we covered a lot of it, Hank. There's a lot of big things happening with the drainage around here. Everybody knows that's the numero uno problem in Precinct.4.
Mm-hmm.
We're throwing the kitchen sink at infrastructure and trying to get those big road projects moving, trying to drum up funding. We've got a great staff at Precinct.4 that's working very hard. If you have drainage issues or concerns or whatever service you're needing from my office or our office, just call and put in a work order. We've got a very friendly staff.
Mm-hmm.
They'll take it, they'll process it, they'll put it in a queue, and we'll build it in to where it belongs, and we can communicate it back to you when we'll get there or how we'll take care of it.
Okay.
So we've got a plan. We're working the plan, and I usually, on any of the posts or any things that I put out, I just want to make sure that everybody listening knows how proud I am to be representing Precinct.4. I absolutely start glowing when I talk about being commissioner over here and the good we're able to do and share. So I'm proud to be here and proud to be in this role.
We're lucky to have you. That's
Appreciate
for sure. So, all right.
Appreciate it.
All right, guys. Well, there you go. And I want you to know that Matt Gray is the guy that is always out at speaking engagements. I've seen him numerous times. And so he's one of the only guys I've seen that just loves to update the public. And we need more of our civic leaders to be that way. We need to get more information. It helps us to know what's going on. It helps us to become educated citizens and educated voters as well. So we got a big weekend coming up. I got a lot of shows coming up, and it's always good to have you guys watching. Thanks for subscribing, and thanks for supporting the channel. We've got some new sponsors that have come aboard. Buster Brown Propane is our new platinum sponsor. So welcome aboard there, Buster Brown. And I'm Hank Vatt. This is Hank's Think Tank, and we'll see you in the next one.
Awesome.